Blessings in the name of the Lord Jesus. Welcome to Paraclet TV, making disciples through the power of the Holy Spirit. Our intended learning outcomes for this video: at the end of the session, 100% of the students with 100% level of proficiency will be able to discuss motivation, and second, to apply the various ways how to have intrinsic motivation. Let us start by defining motivation. Motivation is an inner drive that causes you to do something and persevere at something. So it is a force within us to do something in which when we are doing it, we can do it with gladness, or there are times that we are just forced to do it. We call that as a motivation. There are indicators of high level of motivation. The first one, when you have positive attitudes towards school. And because we are dealing with the students in the school, if the students have a very positive attitudes in going to school, say for example, he is very punctual in attending classes, and he is always prepared, making his assignments and doing the review, and always attending to the different requirements of the teacher, then he has a positive attitudes towards school. The second indicator, it processes information in depth and excel in classroom learning experience. So there are many students who are really attending to different classes, but when they go home, they don't do something. A high level of motivation is when the students, after listening to a lecture, he is going to surf the net to continue on deepening his knowledge about a certain matter or a certain subject matter. Or even during the discussion, he is going to ask questions to clarify matters, and the most, he is going to add some information which he knows about the topic that is being discussed. So those are now the two indicators of high level of motivation. Now, about motivation, there are two types. We have the so-called intrinsic motivation, and the second one is extrinsic motivation. Now, when we say about intrinsic motivation is a driving force of an individual in which the source is from within the person. The source is within the person. Say for example, when a person is reading books, when a student is reading books, and because he has that joy when he is reading books, that is the so-called intrinsic motivation. Or when the student is so responsible enough, even without looking at the rewards or even the supports of the parents, and it is just coming within himself to do something. Example are curricular activities, to do it with excellence, and that is called intrinsic motivation. So there is a positive behavior within the student that is being expressed when there is a positive input in his attitude or character. Now, when we speak about extrinsic motivation, it is when the students are motivated by someone or something outside him. By someone, say for example, the parents are encouraging or supporting him to study, and he does not want to discourage his parents, or even the relatives or some important personalities around him, say for example his friends, or there are also those adolescents, they are being inspired by their crushes or by their they have infatuation about a certain girl, boy, then that's about someone that is outside of him that motivates him. And of course, not only someone but something. Say for example, the parents are are promising about a certain gift when he has to receive a certain level of grade or an average, or say for example he is wanting to receive a plot 1 in the grades, or he wants to be praised, or he wants to receive applauses from his classmates, in that we called as extrinsic motivation. We will go further about differentiating the types of motivation as we go on in our discussion. There are important roles played by extrinsic motivation to a certain learner. Extrinsic motivation is necessary to develop the love for learning among poorly motivated students. Actually, extrinsic motivation or extrinsic motivational factors are not bad at all, because these are necessary or very important, so that the poorly motivated students will be intrinsically motivated in the future. Some of the examples of these external or extrinsic motivational factors are good grades, then rewards, we have praise, words of encouragement, or even the negative of it, or fear of failing, are of course examples of extrinsic motivation. And the role of extrinsic motivation, it is expected that when these extrinsic motivational factors are experienced, are given to students, it is gradually replaced by internal motivation. So it is expected that time will come that the poorly motivated student or learner will become intrinsically motivated as they are being encouraged by these external factors. As we go on, there are different factors affecting motivational level of an individual, especially of students. Number 1, we have age. So age is a very important factor. There are some students, because they are just young, they are not fully matured, and they don't understand what is happening in the school. They are not yet intrinsically motivated. Second, gender, and about which gender is more motivated. Is it the male or the female? So it is about looking at some important researches, which of the two is more motivated. Is it the male or the female? Then we have also cultural factors. Now, when we speak about culture, where the student or the learner has grown, or where does a learner spend his younger days, or what culture he is in when he is growing up. And parts of the culture are the family background, how many children are there in the family, then what kind of parents, the education of the parents can also be considered as an aspect of this cultural factor. Then of course the friends are examples or an element of this cultural factor. Then we have the kind of school, and of course the church can also be a part of the cultural factor, that when he is active in the church, it is expected that the values and the learnings that he has received in the church can also be a positive motivational factor, so that that student or learner will perform in the class. Then we have also the socio-economic background. So the amount of money or the average income of the parents has something to do with the motivational level of the learner. Students are most likely to model the behaviors that are relevant to their situations. And when the parents are highly educated, most of the students will really look at them as models, so they will be encouraged to study. We have seen many in our society that when the parent is a doctor, the children will also become doctors. And when the parents are dentists, no, most of the students or most of their children will also become become dentists because these parents serves as model to them. So it's good to remember that students are most likely to model the behavior that are relevant to their situations. When the parents are so supportive, when the parents are so encouraging, their children will also be encouraged to perform in the class. And of course, the socioeconomic background, when every thing that is needed for the everything that is needed or required by the school, it is being supplied by the parents. Say, for example, some of the projects that are to be bought in the market, or some expenses that are to be met by the parents. When all of these are settled and supplied by the parents, the students will have no other problems but to perform better in the school. Another principle that can be looked into with respect to these factors is students develop greater efficacy for a task when they see others like themselves performing the task successfully. So the classmates or the colleagues where a learner is has a positive effect to the performance of the students as well as to the motivational level of that student. When the classmates are always performing, so it most likely the learner will also perform better because his classmates are very happy discharging the task that is given to them. This happens especially when there is a performance-based task that is given to the pupils or to the students, and they are grouped to a smaller group. And this principle can also lead us to an important conclusion. Students need models who are similar to themselves in terms of race, cultural background, socioeconomic status, as well as gender. So most male pupils are usually modeling male individuals, and those who are in the same background, say for example, when an ethnic group or having difficulty in his study, and when he sees that a certain Igorot or an ethnic group of Igorot is performing better in the school, he is more likely to emulate and to serve that individual as his model, and thus affecting his motivational level. There are also factors like special education needs. There are students who are having difficulty in speech. There are students who are having difficulty in the control of their behavior, and these are examples of special education needs that needs to be more motivated in terms of doing good in their study. Now, there are also important academic motivational factors according to Aquino in 2009. And one of the factors that need to encourage students to level up their motivation is knowledge in a particular content area. So when a student has information about the subject matter that is to be developed within a class, he is more likely have that motivational level that is high to continue listening and to participate well in the discussion. So it is very important that the teacher can give some time and advanced assignments so that the students will have an input before the development of that subject matter or of that concept. Second, beliefs about what the teacher expects. When the teacher has a positive expectation about a certain student, of course, that certain student will more likely to attend to the expectation of the teacher. It is very acceptable that teachers must pronounce positive pronouncement or utterances so that students will not be discouraged and always have that high motivational level in their class. Third, adolescent self-concept or perceived personal ability. The student or the learner must have that positive self-concept that he is to perform well, that he know that when he gives his effort, he will be having additional merit, or when he knows what he can do, he will always perform in the class. Next factor, anxiety or concern about grades. There are students we call that grade conscious, but there are also students that have no interest even if they will get a positive grade or even if they will get a failing grade. There are many students who are very satisfied of just having a satisfactory grade. But the highly motivated students will always wanting to have an excellent grade. Then we have also the level of support in the classroom environment. The support of the teachers, the support of the parents, the support as well as of the classmates of a certain students will level up the motivation of the students. Then we have also the difficulty and challenge of the task. So here lies the wisdom and the knowledge of the teacher to pick the most appropriate task to be given to a certain level, because there are tasks in grade 3 that is not to be given in grade 1 because it will be difficult for them. But there are also tasks in grade 3 that are so easy that can be done by a grade 1 level. So the teacher must have enough wisdom and enough intelligence to pick what appropriate task is to be given to what level of students or individual. There is also another important variable. We call this a social interaction. Good that there will have a very smooth, very cordial social interaction within the class. So the recitation as well as the discussion approach must always be applied in a classroom scenario so that students will have the freedom to express themselves. If they are going to ask questions, they will not be hindered, or they will not think it twice when they want to add or subtract some information regarding what the teacher is telling them. And the last, belief that learning is useful, meaningful, and the consequence of others. And then the last part of this video are the ways of enhancing motivation according to Epstein and Rogers 2001. So those of you are listening in this video, you might have a low level of motivation, but those of you who have a high, you want to level it more. So there's are now the things that you must do to enhance your motivation. The first one is manage the environment. In managing the environment, there are many people at home. If you have many people at home and you want to study, you can create your own niche. You go to a place which is not, you will not be disturbed, so that you will be concentrating on your work. Next, manage own thoughts. We are the products of our own thoughts. It means that we become what we think we can. This belief is somewhat related to René Descartes' famous line, "I think, therefore I am." It means that we should think in terms of positive aspects. We must not allow our negative thoughts and feelings destroy our focus for work or for study. Next, a very good way of enhancing motivation, you set goals. You must always have your goals or the plan to achieve whenever you are attending your academic tasks. Next, maintain a healthy lifestyle. So avoid getting to bed late, avoid too much eating, and because maintaining a healthy lifestyle includes a very good study habits. Then make commitments. Once we set goals, we must make sure that we fulfill them. We cannot accomplish them alone. We need people with whom we should interact and establish relationships. So, at this point in time, the 2022 is coming, so it's good to have a very academic resolutions. Next way of enhancing motivation, monitor own behavior. So you have to look into which part of the academic activity you get a lower grade and which part you always perform better. That is called monitoring. Next, you have to manage stress. Problems are inevitable. They have been part of everyday life occurrences. Problems can cause stress, and so we should know how to manage them properly. If we are under stress, we might fail to concentrate on our task and to make wise choices. And the last way of enhancing motivation, manage rewards. Rewards can boost our morale and increase the level of our motivation. Recognizing our efforts gives us a feeling of self-worth and self-confidence.
Share Jesus.
Subscribe and
Subscribe and
share
share
Harapet
Harapet TV.
TV.
Go, go, go.